All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, just thinking about it, if I had to compare James Harden to any other athlete in any other sport, it would without a doubt be Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers in the NFL. Both extremely talented, both extremely flawed, win a lot of games during the regular season, get to the playoffs, and in some way, shape, or form, they're going to come up short for some reason, normally due to that outstanding flaw that they have. And for both players, it's kind of similar. In my view, they're both monarch athletes, so you never know what to expect from them in a pivotal moment. They may have a mental breakdown, or they just might be inaccurate. In the case of Cam Newton, it's with his passes. In the case of James Harden, it's with his shots. Like Cam Newton, James Harden is often under the eye of extreme scrutiny, and now he's decided to sit down and strike back at his haters. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
First, though, over All-Star Weekend, I had the opportunity to sit down with some of the biggest stars in the game, and no one is shining brighter right now than James Harden, who has scored at least 30 points in 31 straight games heading into the All-Star break. We talked about his streak.
Now, obviously, this interview took place before James Harden's streak was ended.
His critics and his goals for a Rockets team that finished, just that one game short of the finals last season. Take a look.
The MVP does it again! Big smile on his face. Even he liked that one.
You are in the middle of one of the most epic scoring streaks in NBA history. What is that process like every night for you as you go out and put the streak together?
I've seen it all. Especially on the court. I've seen double teams. I've seen triple teams. I've seen zones. Literally, guys are trying to keep the ball out of my hands. But I mean, it's not even like the scoring streak is obviously amazing, but it's just something that I had to do because of our situation that we had.
Oh, bullshit. What you had to do was lead your team to victories. You did a pretty good job of that, but let's not act like the scoring streak was strictly based on winning. There was some self-motivation there for self-exaltation, and that's okay. That's okay. It's just that you know that if you admit that, you're going to look bad because your reputation is that you're a pretty self-serving player.
We had all the injuries and guys ran out of lineups and things like that, so I think the streak just started happening, and then now it's like something to talk about.
Bullshit. Your streak was not organic, dude. Once again, you guys lost a game in Denver. You were down by 20-plus points with about 3 minutes left, and Mike D'Antoni put your black ass back in the game to keep your streak going. So knock it off.
But it's not something that I'm really honestly focused on. Like,
yes, you are.
That's something that I have to do in order to give us a chance to win the game.
Okay, but that's amazing to me that even in an answer about, hey, you're on this crazy scoring streak, you feel like you have to defend it.
The reason why he's defensive is because he knows that deep down in his heart, he was going for 30 points every game because he wanted his individual streak to keep going. And there's nothing wrong with setting goals. I remember back in 2003 when Kobe Bryant scored 40 or more points in 8 or 9 consecutive games. And it was very obvious that he was trying to break Jordan's record. There's nothing wrong with that. The issue becomes when it becomes so clearly inorganic that you're starting to hoist and force up shots and you're outside of the team dynamic, you're outside of the offensive framework that's going to benefit your team and give you the best opportunity to win. That's the problem.
Why do you think, with other accomplishments, we don't hear so much criticism? With you, there really has been this, this isn't the right way to play to win a championship, or, he's selfish, or whatever. People have gone on.
I get praise like 22 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
And then it feels like that 2 hours, like there's someone want to throw some, a little negative, whatever you want to call it, and then we're talking about that. It's like I take the good and the bad, and I just push it away.
Well, the source of the criticism is very simple, dude. And Rachel Nichols knows better. The reason why James Harden is criticized on a different level from other players is because his offensive performances during the regular season have been so outstanding that even though he's still been a relatively potent player in the postseason, when you compare his regular season to his postseason performances, there's no comparison. Over the last 3 or 4 years, he's probably averaged 30 points a game in the regular season. In the postseason, he always has these flameouts. And I'm not quite sure that he's ever going to live down what he did against San Antonio in Game 6 a couple of years ago. It's going to be very difficult for him to live that down unless he wins 3 or 4 championships.
But you you answered it in a question I didn't even ask you, so you must be hearing it.
Yeah, I hear it. It's hard not to hear it. It's hard not to hear it, especially nowadays. You have social media, you have fans that are reading what people are saying and asking me about it.
You've seen him put up all these numbers, seeing him score. You know, this streak is attractive, but you know, I love him as a player, but it doesn't look like he's focused on winning.
I'm not a fan of in terms of winning championships. I don't think that style's ever going to win championships.
Yeah, you would know because you're the main player who played in that style over the last 20 years or so. You tried it, it failed, and then Phil Jackson had to come back and save your ass. So you would know better than anybody Kobe being Bryant.
I totally don't agree with the type of basketball that he plays. I don't think this type of basketball that we're watching is playoff basketball. It's not even attractive basketball to me.
It's not.
Because I hear people talking about his MVP race, he's doing this, but it's not fun to watch a guy dribble the ball for 20 seconds.
I try my best to...
He'll Scotty be going in on James Harden. It's just not fun to watch a guy dribble the ball for 23 and a half seconds and then just throw up a shot or pass the ball to a teammate. It's boring.
Best to block it out, but it's kind of hard, you know, especially when it's coming from like ex-NBA players, you know, so it makes it more difficult, you know, but obviously everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Well, James Harden, you have to understand something. Most of the criticism that you're receiving from former NBA players are champions, so maybe they know a little bit more than what you know. Even Steven Jackson is a champion. He was able to win the NBA championship in 2003. Scottie Pippen's a 6-time world champion. Kobe Bryant's a 5-time world champion, so they know what works and what doesn't if you actually want to win.
Well, I want to get back to my original question. What is it like when you keep hearing yourself compared to Wilt Chamberlain?
First of all, you can't compare that. He's on another level, you know, but just being in you know, that same streak and the same records, saying those same records on the first person that has done it since Wilt, it's like we're getting to something, you know, and that's what you work hard for, that's what you play for. Obviously you play, you know, to win championships and all that great stuff, but it's pretty cool, you know, when it's all said and done and you're you know, you're retired and, you know, well off, you know, you're in that category.
You have said that you want the MVP again this season. Make your case to me. Why do you deserve it?
What do you mean?
She asked him, make your case, why do you deserve it? What do you mean? Don't you see I'm averaging 37 points a game, bitch?
Look at all what we've had to go through when you put, you know, any other guy in a situation that I've been in. They probably wouldn't be here in the same situation, you know. And so we got a chance to get to that you know, top 3 seed in the West, which we all know how difficult that is.
So let's talk about the team, because last year, every time I saw you guys, there was just this feeling. You knew you guys were on the same level as the defending champs. You said, we can knock off Golden State if we get there, and you came very close. This year at the start of the season, you guys could barely get out of the gate, right?
Very bad. Very bad.
You guys were still getting over that fog of coming so close to beating Golden State and not getting the job done. That's what I chalk up their bad start to. They played better basketball. I think that by the end of this season, they're going to have a better team than they had last year. Will that be enough to beat Golden State, though? We'll find out. They presumably will not have home court. Also, Golden State will see them coming. On top of that, I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to benefit from Golden State losing Iguodala again like they did last season. In my view, that's the only reason why the series went 7 games in the first place.
So since then, obviously better. Have you gotten to that level? I felt last season where you said, oh, we could knock off Golden State if we get there. Are you back at that conference level?
We haven't gotten there, but we will. Because we haven't been healthy yet. Like when we're in a healthy group, like we've had glimpses. So hopefully after this break, we can catch a rhythm. So we just have to stay healthy.
How are you going to manage your next few months in terms of fatigue and making sure that your body is in a place that when you get to those key playoff games, at the very end of the playoffs where you want to be, you can be stronger?
Yeah.
The issue is that their offensive system demands that he handles the ball so much. He's really not allowed to play off the ball unless Chris Paul is handling the basketball. So it's very difficult for him to get rest during the game unless he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I think this year I've been doing a lot more weightlifting, you know, just to make sure my legs and my body will hold up. You know, I mean, I've always lifted, you know, but this year I put more emphasis on it just because 10 years in, you know, so I got to make sure that my body is strong enough to be able to last. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, people ask, well, is he going to be tired? He's going to be playing. Like, I don't think about it. I just continue to work.
Have you looked back at any of the other playoffs? Like, if you look at your statistics in playoff series, your best numbers are in game ones.
Yeah.
Have you looked back at sort of the ends of some of those series and thought, okay, I can fix this, I can tweak that?
Yeah, I have. And, some of them have been great, some of them haven't been. So that's where, my minds have to keep thinking. We have to be great for the entire series. Every possession counts. Find ways to be more impactful.
On top of that, James Harden, you're going to have to learn to play without the basketball better, bro. Because if you just look at many of the series that you've had over the last 4 or 5 years and how you've been closed out, 2015, you had 11 turnovers in the game. Last year, you were horrific in Game 7 as well as most of your team. So it's very clear that you guys have to find a remedy. We'll see if that remedy can be found this year.
Let's get back to my discussion with James Harden. I thought it was so interesting, guys. I mean, look, when you do an interview like this, you guys know, you've been sat in that other chair, you start off with like, hey, this nice thing is happening, right? And you expect the kind of softball kind of answer, and then you get into having a more like real discussion about it. He got real right away, right? He just literally, within a sentence and a half, he starts defending the numbers, defending and acknowledging.
Because it's a guilty conscience. James Harden knows for a fact that over the course of those 30-plus games of scoring 30 points or more consecutively, that there were at least 4 or 5 games that he had no business scoring 30 points in the actual flow of the game. That is pretty inorganic. It's not natural. And he feels a certain type of way about it. He feels insecure because he does not want prominent former NBA players on television calling him out. He does not care if the layman calls him out because in his mind, they don't really matter. James is concerned that if he never wins a championship, that he's going to be forgotten. So he knows that if he goes on these scoring streaks and has all of these outstanding performances in regular season games, that at the very least, when you mention Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Wilt Chamberlain, you'll have to mention him. Remember, he's 29 years old. The brother's not 23. It's not like he has his whole career ahead of him. He probably has one big contract left. And, that's about it with James Harden. So right now is a time period in his career where he has to win. And if he doesn't win, at the very least, he'll be able to fall back on the notion that he was a dominant scorer.
Acknowledging all that backlash that he's got, Tracy, do you think he needs to defend himself?
No. I mean, he's listening too much of ESPN, just talk show radios, and
dude got almost 30,000 dribbles.
and paying attention to social media too much. Like, no, he doesn't have to defend it. Basketball players know why he had to do what he had to do in the beginning of the season because of all these injuries. I've been in a position where Grant Hill has went down and more of the burden is on your shoulders to carry that load.
That's why he's upset with you, T-Mac. He's upset with you because he feels like you should know better. But you were just telling the truth. T-Mac got on TV and said that he's seen James Harden try to keep that streak going even when they were losing.
I had to do that for 4 years. He's just doing it for half of this season, right? With Clint Capella being out, CP being out, Eric Gordon missing some time. He had to do that to keep them afloat. Now these guys are coming back. Clint, I think, is the only one that is out. So, yes, the streak continued, and he's doing a phenomenal job on that. But now these guys are back healthy. Don't give me, it really doesn't mean that much, because these guys are back healthy. Now when I see that you have a 15-point lead and it's only a minute left, you shouldn't be in the game.
Thank you, sir.
I know you probably don't have your 30 points,
right?
But you're in
the game.
That's when
you're going to see it.
That's when I'm going to see it.
Thank you, sir.
You're in the game to get your 30 points.
Yes, sir.
Now, you're going to need that rest when it comes to playoff. We don't want you being tired for this run. You guys were right there last year in Game 7. But you missed 27 consecutive threes.
You heard me asking about it.
So this is a chance for you guys to get back where you were last year, and I think they're able to do it with him playing the way he's playing.
Yeah, I think, again, he doesn't have to defend himself one bit. He shouldn't even listen to all that crap that people are talking about.
Shut the hell up, Byron. You know damn well if James Harden was playing on the Showtime Lakers, you say, nigga, pass the ball. Stop going for that damn streak.
He did because he did have to do what he had to do.
Sides. I think he had to do what he had to do, but I respect the opinion of these guys.
But no. I respect the opinion of all the guys that have something to say, but they're talking about as far as winning championships.
Okay.
But as far as keeping the team afloat and doing what he had to do at that particular time when you got CP and Capella and those guys out, he had to score 30-plus points a game.
Yeah.
Well, that's valid, but what Tracy's saying is that in games that were already decided, he's still in the game trying to keep his streak going. So let's not act like every point he scored during the streak was just for the benefit of the team.
Yeah, and when it comes to winning in the playoffs, I don't like that formula as far as trying to win a championship.
It's a boring style to watch. Like,
absolutely. I'm so happy that these dudes are saying this. Tracy McGrady, Scottie Pippen, I've been saying it. It's an atrocious style to watch, and that's why you notice when James Harden's name gets called out, the fans boo him. Because he's viewed as somebody who's allowed to travel, who's allowed to lower his shoulder and charge, and he plays in that dribble, ugly-ass offensive style.
Like James dribbling, step back, like, it's a boring style to watch.
And I think he's heard that. I think he actually, look, that conversation, we showed a little clip of it with Kobe, and you were there, and you added to that, and we're agreeing with some of the idea about not winning a championship that way. And James came out when people, of course, brought, hey, Kobe Bryant said this about you. James came out and said, I agree with Kobe, right? He said, I don't think we can win a championship like this either. I'm just doing it now. But it's obviously present enough when Kobe Bryant says something, when Scottie Pippen says something, and obviously he's hearing other players say it, because there's also a clip that surfaced from All-Star Weekend that was like, that when NBA TV is like listening in to people, and you can find it on the internet. Steph Curry is talking to Coach Budenholzer, and he's saying, hey, James told me in the back, he's just playing this way because he has to. He doesn't like playing that way. And it was interesting to me that he's having a locker room hallway conversation with Steph Curry, and he's got the way Steph starts it, talking to Coach Bud, he said, I came out and congratulated him, and this is how he answered me.
Because James is insecure about the fact that he's just out there jacking up a bunch of damn shots to keep his streak going. That's why.
And I thought that was so interesting, because
the real interesting thing is that Steph Curry felt compelled to divulge that to Budenholzer, and he had to know that he was on camera. So Steph Curry's playing some mind games with James Harden.
I come out in this interview and say, hey, you've got this great story streak, and this is how he answers. So he's obviously...
He really has to take some blame for that, because...
Agreed.
Yeah, there are times where I watch the game where they are up double digits with very few time left on the clock, and he's still in the game.
Thank you, sir.
But he hasn't achieved those 30 points, so... I mean, he has to take some blame for that as well.
Well, it's interesting that he is so focused on, hey, I want to do things differently when people come back. He's focused on talking about winning a championship, and despite all of the rough start that they had, right, and the losing that they've done, the adversity Houston has gone through, he believes they could get back to that level they were last season. Do you think the Rockets can pull that off, be in that Western Conference Finals Game 7?
I don't. I thought their chances last year with a healthy team until Chris Paul went down really killed them. And two main reasons, Lou and Trevor Ariza. They're not there.
I think that they have a chance. An outside chance, but they have a chance. I believe they have the same chance they had last year. The Rockets look very good to me. And I also believe that DeMarcus Cousins is going to be a liability defensively for the Golden State Warriors. Offensively, he gives them an option down low that they have not ever had. But defensively, he's going to be a big-time liability. I think that if the Rockets were to match up with the Golden State Warriors again, that's a 6 or 7 game series, no doubt about it.
Those guys played without the ball, number one on the offensive end, but on the defensive end.
And I would give the Rockets a very good chance, even in a Game 7 in Oracle.
Defensive end, they took a whole lot of pressure off a lot of guys on that team. And then you had Capella back there erasing their mistakes. So, now with those two guys gone, you don't have that defensive identity that they had last year. So I think with those two guys missing, it's so much harder for these guys right now to get back to that level. I don't think they can challenge the Golden State Warriors.
The biggest problem for the Rockets will be getting to the Warriors. Now, if they can lock down that 4 or 5 seed and the Warriors finish at the 1 seed, that means that should the Rockets win and the Warriors win in round 1, they would face each other in round 2. Now, if the Rockets were to get to the 3 seed or the 2 seed, that means that they would be facing the Warriors in the 3rd round should they face off against one another. If you're the Rockets, that means that there could be the potential for you to get knocked off in the first 2 rounds. I could see Denver, I could see OKC, I could even see Portland beating the Rockets. I could also, of course, see the Rockets beating them, but I think that the Rockets have the best chance of any team in the Western Conference to defeat the Warriors. More than OKC, more than Portland.
I don't think they can challenge it.
I actually think they can.
Me too.
Boy, that's his Houston lie.
No.
He loves it.
He calls it like he sees it with the Rockets.
Because
Trust me.
of where
They're not always happy with him.
Because the way James is playing right now. Because the way James is playing, and I think he has a lot more help. You know, you talk about the addition of Iman Shumpert. If you look at
Iman Shumpert gives them another possible defender on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
what he's brought to the table, this guy is hungry. He's hungry, so those two guys are a great addition for them. Iman Shumpert can play great defense. He can knock down open shots, so he kind of replaces Trevor a little bit to me. And then, you know, Kenneth Reed, just an energy guy.
Kenneth Reed, man, he's going to be a problem for the Warriors should they face off.
He's playing a lot of minutes right now because Clint Capella is out. But you add Clint Capella and then Kenneth Reed coming off the bench. I mean, these guys can be very dangerous. Only team I see beating these guys is the Golden State Warriors. I think they could beat anybody else to make it to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think they could beat Golden State. I think they could compete against them. I don't think they could beat them. But they can get back to the level that they were at last year.
Agreed. And I give them about a 35, maybe even a 40% chance to defeat Golden State.
Getting back to that level means they get back to the Western Conference Finals and go Game 7 against the Golden State
Warriors. I think they can do it.
I don't think they can do it because the other reason for me is this. James has to play on both ends of the floor when he plays against Golden State.
He's doing a better job this year.
I'm not saying he's not, but he's got to play 40 minutes of guarding a Klay Thompson or a Steph Curry and having to score another end. I don't think so.
It's going to be interesting because you got Oklahoma City, you got Denver.
Yeah, OKC
we keep talking about the top of the East. The West is shaping up into some contenders as well to get to the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see what happens there.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. I just found what James Harden stated in the interview to be very interesting. I think that it was a look inside of the mind of Mr. James Harden and many of the things that make him tick. I think that deep down he knows that there is a very good possibility, maybe even a probability, that he's going to retire without a championship. So he's trying to make sure that he secures his individual legacy the best way he can. So anyway, peace.